feel like I'm on top of the world. It's crazy. This is the home of Audi Sport in Germany, and Audi recently launched a new RS model. It's this, the RS e-tron GT Performance. It has 912 brake horsepower. 912. Unsurprisingly, it's quite fast. Quite fast in a 0 to 62 miles an hour in around 2.5 seconds fast.
So, the RS e-tron GT is fabulously fast. That much is obvious. But what's it really like to live with over the course of a typical Evo-style 1,000-mile road trip? Is it a true Grand Tourer? Can it morph into a convincing sports car on an alpine mountain road? How about on a circuit? And most of all, is it a car with soul, with personality?
I think there's only one way to find out. But before that, let's go and talk to the man that knows this car better than most.
That man is Stefan Bamberger. He is Head of Technical Development at Audi Sport. So let's hear what he has to say on the development of this new model and what makes, in his eyes, this a true Audi RS.
What are the key qualities of an RS car?
Many people think it's a big secret. It's not such a big secret. It's when you walk to your car, you have to see it. It's an RS. That's the most important thing. Yeah, and then the next step is going into the car, open the doors, sit in the car, starting the engine. For sure, this is an electric car, but the starting process of a car is a quite important thing. How the car sounds, how the car feels, how the car and the engine vibrates is really, really important. The accelerating and the driving dynamic itself, it has to always be precise, it has to always be safe, but it has to always be fun. The sound gives you the last sense and orientation, which kind of driving situation you are moving the car. So for us, the sound will always be important. It doesn't matter whether it's a combustion engine or electric car. All the RS customers like the car as a daily driver, and they also enjoy it to be able to drive fast with the car. So that's the secret behind all the RS models.
Okay, so we hit a bit of a snag because, well, the weather's not looking that great, and we have one 912 brake horsepower RS e-tron GT on summer tyres, and there's a possibility of about 40 centimetres of snow. So lots of phone calls going on to try and get a set of winter tyres. Who would have thought it, but there are no winter tyres, it would appear, for an RS e-tron GT Performance in the whole of southern Germany. That is until, of course, you know the boss man, and he makes one phone call, and then amazingly there's a set of wheels with winter tyres winding their way to us right now. Our GT has disappeared for a moment to have its winter tyres fitted, so while we're waiting around, why don't we go through here and have a look at where they build the car. It's after hours, everybody's gone home. Follow me.
Okay, so the road trip for real starts now. We pulled onto the autobahn and obviously still in comfort mode. I hadn't messed about with anything on the car. Slightly squeezed the throttle and we appear to have reached about 140 miles an hour. I mean, it was absolutely absurd. I just don't know where to begin with that level of performance. As a GT car, I think that's my first impression is, obviously it's very quiet. Road noise seems quite low. I can hear the spray, but wind noise, not so much. It's a very, very comfortable place to be. Well, I think we've got about 5 hours now. We've got to get around Stuttgart first. We'll have to recharge at some point. It's showing about, 308 kilometers of range. We'll see how that goes. it's time for our first charging stop, and it's a routine that will become familiar as the trip progresses. We're using Ionity chargers and enjoying their 350 kilowatts of grunt, planning our route around their locations. Put simply, we find that to hike the RS e-tron GT's battery charge up from around 10% to 80% takes as little as 20 minutes.
.912 brake horsepower, narrow mountain road. What's this going to be like? First thing, what mode shall I put it in? Well, you know what, I'm going to put it straight into performance mode, kind of a maximum attack. And the reason, ESP Sport, the reason I'm going to do that is because the roads are so smooth. They are so smooth with that really fine grain you get in countries like Austria. Now, I've driven up this road earlier, so my mind is full of thoughts. Now, obviously, the first one is 912 brake horsepower is a lot. It's a lot. It's an awful lot. My word. You just flex your toe and it shrinks time and space. And I'm not sure when the point comes that you actually get used to it, if at all. It does slightly tail off, obviously, at higher speeds, as is the norm with an EV, but that initial thrust is just outrageous, as are the views. I have to concentrate here because there's some big stops. And sheet ice as well. Whoa! That's the thing. You've got to be careful with the throttle, and it is a different kind of driving. It puts a lot of emphasis on the throttle. Actually, you have to meter it out. Now, when you first drive this car, I'm sure probably most people will want to just give it full beans, and you feel that 900 plus brake horsepower, and of course it's spectacular. But you soon learn that you can't use all of it all the time, nowhere near, and the modulation of it is absolutely crucial. Now, the good news is that the way that's calibrated is actually quite progressive. It's got this sort of robotic, sci-fi, techie sort of sound when you're in the sportier modes. I think without the sound it would just be weird. The human just needs something to base their impression of speed on. It's a very precise sort of drive, and this new steering setup they've got, I mean, it has made a big difference to the car. The car feels a lot more precise and wieldy than it ever did. I think that's genuinely a really good improvement. Body control is great, and that active suspension setup, I mean, it's not just a gimmick. You can tell it does really resist the pitch from strong braking and strong acceleration. The car stays very flat, as it does in the corners as well. I like this driving position in this car. It just feels really right. You've got the B pillar here, you're just tucked in, and of course with these cars you sit low, don't you? I mean, that's part of the architecture of the car. You do sit really low. Driving position's great. Steering wheel, nice Alcantara rim, and it feels good, it feels nice. I suppose the question is it fun? I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting. Is it enough for a very fast, big GT car? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think I'm discovering its personality. It does have a personality. I think I am discovering its soul. I'm in awe of its capabilities in certain areas. And I think it's a very clever thing. So we've arrived at Audi Centre Pforzheim this morning to get the wheels and tyres changed back over. Mr. Bamberger would like his winters back, and we want to experience the car on the wheels and tyres that it came with, these P0s. So that's going to happen in the workshop now, and we should be back on the road very soon. The performance of the RS e-tron GT on the autobahn is staggering. Now, I'd never really thought of this kind of high-end EV as being a real autobahn car, but the RS, it's got so much power instantly. I mean, here we are doing 170 kilometers an hour. That's now 200 kilometers an hour. I'm going to hit the boost button just for maximum effect. Got 10 seconds of boost. 3, 2, 1, go. 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210, 210. It's a level of performance in this particular environment I don't think I've ever really experienced before. Even some kind of heavy hitters like the M5s and E63 AMGs and RS6s, well, you certainly don't get that instant kick, of course, because with a car like this, you're getting everything instantly. Something to make progress in this environment. I cannot think of anything that can just rinse past traffic with the same sort of authority. It's completely mind-blowing. Oh, the way it just puts on speed is outrageous. That's 150 mile an hour. Two-lane autobahn is always a little bit more, how can we put it, focuses the mind than the three-lane stuff. Having said that though, with this car, with these brakes on this particular version, the big ceramics, they really do pull the speed down quickly, and that does give you quite a bit of reassurance, and you need it because the car puts on speed so quickly.
Anyway, we're on our way to the Nürburgring, and certainly one of my favourite places in the world, and I'm sure the same goes for many of you watching this as well. We're just going to have a little mosey around. Sometimes it's nice to just go there and soak up the atmosphere. We might see some things going around. Definitely going to call in at the petrol station. As they say, it has to be done, doesn't it?
Well, we've arrived here. I don't think I need to say where this is, I'm sure you can guess. It's been a long day of driving. We've made our way up through southwestern Germany after our impromptu tyre exchange this morning. We've hit the speed limiter more times than I can remember on the autobahn, and we've also had to stop, I think, twice for charging as well. But look, personally, I cannot drive through this part of Germany without stopping here. There's nothing going on. I mean, it's getting dark now. There's nothing on the track. It's got a very strange, eerie atmosphere. But I think this place remains one of the ultimate kind of pilgrimages for car enthusiasts that are left in this world. And you just have to come here. You've got to soak up the atmosphere and feel what this place is all about. For Audi, it has a very important history, really. I mean, if you go back to the 1930s and the German Grand Prix, Hans Stuck Senior won the race in 1934. Bernd Rosemeyer was successful at the wheel of an Auto Union in both 1936 and 1937. And in more recent times, well, in the N24 race, Audi has won 7 times in the last 20 odd years since those sort of GT3 rules came into being with R8 based cars. So it's a special place. We'll have a drive around tomorrow, see a few things, but for now I think it's time just to relax after a long and enjoyable day's driving. Right, we've just pulled out of the services. We're only about, I think just about 5 minutes from the Belgian border. We've just had another charge. Another one of these Ionity 350 kilowatt chargers. I think this car charges at about 320 kilowatts, so we rocked up with about 30 something% charge.
and by the time we've had yet another box of schnitzel, we have got 80% charge. And you know what, that actually works fine. I mean, it's quite easy to fit that into your journey.
So here we are on the familiar surroundings of Le Shuttle, somewhere under the English Channel. It's been a long day today, a lot of miles. We started at the Nürburgring. It was wet, it was misty, it was foggy, it was foul. It still felt great to be there. And then we had a rather less eventful drive through Belgium in pretty grey, miserable conditions. But you know what, actually, RS e-tron GT is in its element on those sorts of journeys. It's got GT in the name, and it really is a good GT car. It's quiet, it's really refined, it's comfortable, and I have to say, a special mention to those seats. They're really good as well. Now, when I think back over the last few days and all the miles we've done, I think perhaps the journey that stands out the most for me was the journey from Germany through to Austria on the Monday night. Now, that was in terrible conditions, but we were able to keep a really good speed up on the autobahn. And then when we got into Austria, it was late, it was about 1 or 2 degrees, it was really slippery. The four-wheel drive traction and sort of stability of this car made that journey, well, what can I say, it just sort of ate it and swallowed it whole. It was really impressive. But I think most of all, when I think about this car, I do think about that extraordinary power output. And you know what? Despite having a lot of experience of it now, you never really get used to it. Talking of power, once we've got out of here, our next stop is Thruxton Race Circuit, where we'll see what 912 brake horsepower on a circuit really feels like.
We've made it to Thruxton, a real staple of the British national racing scene. In fact, the self-proclaimed fastest circuit in the UK. For me, it always makes me think of Great British Touring Car Championship races, including with this lot back in '96 with their A4 Quattro. Now, while we've been away, the weather in the UK has changed significantly. It's a beautiful day, but temperatures are hovering around about 0 degrees. In fact, there's a lump of ice I just picked up off the circuit. Nevertheless, it's a circuit that we've got all to ourselves, and we've got Quattro four-wheel drive. And if it thaws out a little bit more with the sun after lunch, maybe we'll try and set a benchmark time for the quickest EV lap at Thruxton. It's a lot warmer in here than it is out there. My word. Right, what have we got here? Already got it set up in performance mode. Got my RS monitor on the screen. Seats all right, let's go. Thruxton, here we come. Campbell Cobb and Seagrave. Brake in a straight line. Keep looking through. That turns in so nicely. Okay, get that one over. Get the exit. Let it drift out. Get on the power. Whoa! The power is so strong. Wow. Wow. Okay. That focuses the mind. Right, the dark tarmac. Here we go. Oh, that's Goodwood. Well, just like Goodwood, that's quite senior. Let it drift out. Here we go. Let it drift out. Let's try and fight it. Right, here we go. Now, the mighty church. Be easy on the first lap. Get it turned in. Oh, there we go. Visions of all those 90s super tourers hopping a wheel. Nice straight line braking. Here we go. Club chicane. Now, this is where it feels really slippy. Not much confidence in the braking. Right, get it turned in. Oh, I love the way it changes direction. The rotation there is really good. Straight, hard on the power. Lining up for Allard. Guys, just shrieks that straight. Oh my word. Oh. So that wide building. Get it back round. Braking the straight line, hold on the brakes. Brakes are holding up nicely. Feels really rear drive coming out of there. But let it go right out to that green curve. There we go, that's a bit better. Yeah, that's better. There's still a bit more on the table, but that's getting a bit better. Oh, I tell you what, for a big GT car, it's standing up well, right. Should you be able to do that in an RS e-tron GT? I don't know. It's a lot of fun though. I mean, there's a fair amount of mass on the move there, but once you get into the groove with it, yeah, you can build a rapport with it. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think it's going to get any warmer or the track any drier today. So I think we might as well come in, try and set a time, benchmark at least. Let's go back to the pits. Now, for reasons that I won't bore you with, of a tedious nature, by the time I drive out of the pit lane, it's getting dark, the ambient temperature is down to about 2 degrees, and there isn't much in the way of tyres left, particularly on the left-hand side of the car. Anyway, that's just a load of excuses, isn't it? We haven't come this far to now not set a time. So, join me on a slightly surreal quick lap of Thruxton Circuit. To you watching, I'm sure it seems oddly silent, almost maybe serene. To me, feeling the weight balance shifting, the grip ebb and flowing, all that power just a toes flex away, and trying to judge entry speeds correctly without much in the way of sensory information, I assure you it was really quite exciting. To give that lap time some necessary context, it's just 2 seconds off the pole time when the UK Audi TT Cup visited Thruxton recently, and they're pure race cars running slick tyres.
What was the time?
1:26.7.
Oh, that's not bad. I'll take that.
I'll take that. Wow, yeah. Well, I think that's pretty amazing, really. A car that's taken across Europe. Been a great GT car. We've come here, haven't changed the tyres, haven't done anything. Set a lap time like that. I think that's very impressive.
All those miles, memories, moments. It feels like an eternity since I clambered into the RS e-tron GT on a dark, rainy night nearly a week ago and set the nav's destination for a mountain road in Austria. During that time, the car has been a fascinating companion, a shockingly fast yet superbly refined GT, a big coupe able to hold its own on a great road, and a surprisingly rapid car on a circuit. Then there's been the experience of charging on a long distance trip, for me for the first time, not without its frustrations granted,
But when the infrastructure is there, well, surprisingly easy too. After all of that, I do feel something of an emotional connection with it, regardless of it being an EV. As ever, after a proper road trip, the RS e-tron GT and I are now buddies, a bond forged as usual through shared miles.